What's good? It's Carson, aka If Found, and today I'm breaking down Too Hot. I'm excited to get into it. I think the song's pretty representative of like a new sound that I'm pushing kind of If Found into. Not like it's night and day difference from the stuff I put out before, but I think it's a bit more refined and has a little more direction. Let's jump right into it. Let's go ahead and look at the intro. We'll look at the drums first. I like to go kind of chronologically and then top down. So looking at the beginning, we just got this little like Skrillex-y, it's kind of like a Quest for Fire type click sound. And that's just some glitchy pack that I found. And then I just picked out one part. So that's all that is. Looking at all the drums here. And then we've got the snares that come in. I'm a big fan of these like just straight 16th note type snares. Kind of reminiscent of like a 909 snare. It just, I don't know, sounds cool. It's really simple, but it builds like good tension in my opinion for the build. So main snare is this guy right here. And I just got a little bit of EQ on it. Just taking out some of those low mids. And then normally would keep that low in there. But, you know, for this sound, I guess I wanted it a little bit more hollowed out sounding. Got this new plugin that I've been using on and off. It's not like absolutely necessary, but it's called Mix Drums by Arturia. And it's just a faster way to get a quick drum mix. I normally just kind of go through the presets, find something that sounds cool, and then go with it. So we have the auto filter opening up, and then I've also got this nice little build rack, kind of like a washout rack. And that is courtesy of Virtual Riot. It's not really doing a whole lot in this. It's just kind of creating this like flange effect sound, but so nothing crazy there. And then just some little hard clipper at the end to kind of catch the dynamics. And then here we got some other drums that come in. This little build kick, little decap kick. Zaytoven snare. This is basically just drum bus with these custom settings. I use this a lot on most of my main drums, honestly. And I'll play with the transient knob and the dry wet amount, but normally the drive and crunch are around 20 to 40%. And the trick is with this one is setting the trim before the compressor. So if you want the compressor, which kind of helps you get that little bit more of snap and like fatness, make sure you set the trim right, because if you're hitting the compressor too hard, it'll completely squash the sound. So normally I just like the trim, normally I set around -5. It works for me. So, and then on my main drums, this is an effect that comes in later, but and that's pretty much everything up until the drop drum wise. It's very simple. We kind of get into the drop pretty quickly on this one. And then let's look at the vocals.
Put the record on the replay, play.
So off the rip, let's first look at the main vocals, which are somewhere. So here's the main vocals. Spice vocal sample. Got a bit of processing on it. This is essentially just some delay with Echo Boy. I got it in parallel, just 16th note slap. And then I've got also some saturation just to kind of give it a little more body. Bring in some of the high mid some. Got a shifter, which is kind of creating this little down riser effect. So kind of a cool sound. But the trick here is making sure the dry wet is not 100%, so you can kind of have the phasing between the dry signal and the wet signal. And then I've got my UAD API Vision. Love this plugin. Without it, with it. A lot of my vocal mixes and stuff recently I've been doing this just to like, it's just a great all-in-one plugin, and also the presets are amazing. Normally just will start with a preset and then kind of tweak from there. But it just sounds really good, and I love this knob as well. Basically it's like analog saturation on a pre-mic or preamp going into it, so it just sounds really good. Pro Q3, just a little bit of corrective stuff. That's just some mixing moves. And then the oven, this is I've been using this a lot as well. Great analog saturator. This plugin is amazing on masters as well. I think I'm probably using it on the master on this, but sizzle knob is really good for adding a little bit of high end without like boosting too much artificially. It sounds really natural. Obviously you can overdo it, but it just sounds really good. But yeah, this is an amazing plugin. Also extremely transparent for stereo width. This thing works really, really well. I'm actually surprised at how well it works. And nice little parallel mix knob in there as well. So really, really love this plugin. I was skeptical at first because like I already have a million of these types of plugins, but this one sounds really good. So moving on, we got this little Redux that does this little thing right before the drop. Kind of that little breakup. So I love that. You get that from the bit effect, not the bit crusher effect, not the downsampler. That's where you're getting that sound from. So, and then I've got, this is just a room reverb that I automate up at different parts, and that's pretty much it. So that's the main vocals. You know, there's another section here, but that's just an octave higher. That's pretty much it for the main vocals. Now, vocal shouts. There's a lot of vocal shouts in this one, and they're coming from different places. So, one thing off the rip is this is from a Missy Elliott song.
Put the record on a replay, play.
So I've been, I have a folder of like OG vocal samples that I spent, you know, like a day or two just going through a lot of old hip hop songs and just ripping stuff. And I've been using them a lot for like one shots and vocal phrases. They just sound really cool. In terms of usage and copyright, I don't know. I'm sure these might get me in trouble, but I haven't had any issue yet, and I'm not really a big artist, so, you know, we're gonna keep running with it until we get in trouble. But
put the record on a replay.
First thing off the rip, got a little reduced ambience. This is a great little, it's built in to Ableton. It's just an OTT preset, but it sounds really good. It basically just shuts off a lot of the like noisiness. Kind of like a denoiser. It's not as effective, but it's really lightweight, so I like using it.
Put the record on a replay.
A little shifter just to kind of pitch it a bit. I thought it sounded cooler doing a shifter, frequency shifter versus a pitch shifter, so I went with that.
Put the record on a replay.
And then automating the echo effects. Yeah, that's pretty much it. There's really not a lot of processing. I think there's some here, but this is when I just got this plugin, so I was experimenting with it, but I threw it on this vocal shouts folder or group because I was like, sure, why not? I probably wouldn't do it again, but it kind of worked.
Put the record on a replay. Play.
Kind of equivalent to putting like an OTT and a saturator on it, but sounds pretty cool. I just liked it because it was, it was like 2 clicks and it just sounded pretty good. I didn't have to tweak it. And then, yeah, my if channel, which if you've been part of my Patreon, you've seen that before. And then we've got, these are off. I don't need these. That's pretty much it for vocals up into the drop. Let's go ahead and look at the mains. So unfortunately, I do not have this anymore. Probably it's an old version of this project where I don't know how I made this. I'm pretty sure it's like essentially had a couple of loops in a group, put a portal on them, you know, this plugin here, and then automated the XY, and then just bounced it and recorded it live into another channel as I'm automating this, just going through different presets. That's how I got this weird intro sound. And then I've got some additional effects on it, like this space. Amazing plugin. Soundtoys put out, I think, for free. I don't know if it's still for free, but when they put it out, it was for free earlier this year. Space Blender, sick, super sick. You can live edit IR responses. It sounds amazing. It's great for sound design. It's also great for just like cool sounding, like kind of otherworldly reverbs, but that aren't as big as the super massive stuff from like Valhalla. So it's a great in-between plugin. Yeah, so that's what the reverb sound's coming from. Shifter, just to kind of give that rising pitch effect. EQ and some filters. That's it. Kind of a weird curve, but it worked. And that's it. I mean, that's pretty much everything up to the drop. I got a couple other little things that come in. Look at this guy. Just a one shot from Splice. Got a roar on there. No effects with it. A little bit of saturation, nothing crazy. And then we got the leads coming in. Just kind of filtered in. But we will see those in the drop. So bass leading up into the drop, just a pitch down, that's it. Yeah, I think it's just one I made myself with an operator, super easy. Riser effects. Pretty sure I've already shared this rack in my Patreon, but I'll show it to you here. It's essentially just an operator saw. It's just a saw wave with a slow attack and then some macros that are mapped to different things throughout. And then what you get, the 2 note stacked, is kind of what gives it that like dissonant sound. Pretty simple. Clean riser. Let's look at the drop. All right, here we go. Cool. All right, drums first. Main drums. Where is my kick? All right, so this is my kick. I'm using a transient from an old trap kick of mine, which is this guy. Just that little thing. And then this is the main body kick I'm using. This pack on the Nasty Pack on Splice is really, really good. It sounds amazing. So this kick I love a lot. I love the body of it, but I felt like it needed a little bit of attack to kind of cut through. So that's what that's for. And then all together, there you go, nice and clean. Getting them to align, I've got this little, helps a lot when you're doing, like, you can do this in audio and it would be a lot more visual, but I kind of do it here because I can see what's going on. So as you can see, I'm basically routing the transient into this oscilloscope so that I can see where the transient and the main kick are overlapping, and I'm just phase aligning them with this align delay, which is a built-in plugin in Ableton. And I'm just basically taking this and moving it until the body and the transient line up how I want them to. And I'm kind of more or less trying to get them phase aligned, the transients phase aligned, so that they kind of mesh better. That's pretty much it. So that's how I do that, as opposed to not working in audio. And it seems like a lot more of a hassle because I have to like do all these extra plugins and everything, but honestly the reason why I prefer to do my drums in MIDI and do this method of aligning things if I'm layering drums is because now I can just swap out kicks, right? So if say I'm like, all right, I don't like this body, I can just go in and change a different body and then real quickly align it by just looking at this and then changing the value down here. So, and you can do the same with audio, but it's just more of a hassle to switch things out with audio, in my opinion. With this, I can just drag and drop it. So a little more setup, but easier, more modular later on. That's why I like to work with MIDI. We've got a mixed drums on this. I personally don't feel like I should have put this here, but I did. Sure, yeah, it makes it a little bit fatter, but I do think it sacrifices some of the body of the kick by making it a little more high mid heavy. It brings it forward in the mix, but it kind of loses a little bit of warmth at the same time. So it works. I kept it, but I probably wouldn't do this again. Again, I was experimenting with this plugin because I just got it. So, but that's the kick. Corrective EQ. This is on the chain for the entire thing. That's an effect later on you'll see, and I've got a clipper at the end. Snare is just this guy, I think. I don't think there's anything else. Yeah, so this sample, I freaking love this sample. I use it in a lot of things now. I usually am layering it now, but at this time I just found it and I thought it sounded cool on its own. Mixed drums on here as well. I feel like that works pretty well. So no real snare there. There's a snare that comes in later. So we got there. One of my one-shots I've made, snares I made, which will be in the, which if I haven't already shared it in my sample packs, it'll be in them, in the Patreon sample packs, the monthly ones that I share. Anyways, that's pretty much it for the main drums. We've got the tops. As you've probably seen with a lot of my tops already, I use a lot of the same stuff. In this case, I am still using the Allison hat. I use this in everything. Kind of like a pedal hat. I've got it layered with this little open Tisoki hat. And then a nice little trap hat there. Layering that, I got this. Just some shaker style type hats, and then I got a corpus on it. Just give it a little bit of a metallic ting, but not much. Got this little guy, just a little breath. Got some fills, cash register. Mix on these guys, again using the mix drums, this little drum thing. I mean, that's it. The drums are super simple. Overall, this song is very straightforward. There's not a lot of elements, and the elements themselves have a good amount of automation, which is what makes it interesting. But yeah, it's a pretty straightforward song. I mean, there's not a lot of drums, as you can see. Got this little pitch down thing, which is happening with this. Kind of cool. So a lot of the attention in this song was more put into not adding a lot of things and more just making sure the things that are there sound really good and that they're programmed the right way. So my drums are hitting the way I want them to hit. There's little hat fills and stuff like that where I want them to be, but not overdone. I'm more like, especially with this song, I think the big shift that I've had lately is focusing more on vibe and like flow with my productions as opposed to technical stuff. So like, how much could I maximize this production to make it sound as cool as possible? Now I'm focusing more on like, okay, does it fit the vibe or like the flow that I'm going for? And then just stay in that pocket. Don't try to like overcook it. So that's kind of where I'm at now. But yeah, that's it for the drums. Look at the vocals and the drop. We got some more vocal shouts. So this little shadow UK2 thing, or UK vocal effect. And I just all I did is took this and reversed it. That's what gave me that. Kind of adds a cool little texture, right? This is a little more interesting. It doesn't really get in the way of the bank sound effect. So, a couple more shots. Just layering those. Super subtle. They're not meant to be in your face, but without them, you can hear it sounds empty. With it. So those little like tiny hits like that at the top of a phrase or the turn of a phrase really help. They don't have to be in your face. They can just help add a little bit of ambience to your drops. Otherwise, your drops can sound pretty stale. Cool. Let's look at, still looking at the vocals. More of this. Alright. And this is, this is just another OG hip hop sample that I found.
We drop it like it's hot.
Just getting it there.
We drop it like it's hot.
One thing I'll make a note of is I intentionally chose this particular shout. I have like a bunch of them. This is number 12 out of like 20, I think, from this song. This song in particular was really good, but I chose this specific shout because it says drop it like it's hot, and the name of the song is Too Hot. So like, and the original, the full, like the main vocals talk about like coming in too hot. So I wanted to keep that like theme, even though this is a bass song, right? Like it doesn't need to have a whole lot of storytelling or even consistency to it to still like work. But I do think adding some layers of consistency or like world building to even bass music really helps set them apart from just like, oh, this song's a banger. So this kind of makes it, it gives it a bit of a character as opposed to just like, oh, that has a cool bass line, which I think gives it a bit more longevity and interest for people to listen to. But I could be overthinking it. But that's just how I like to look at it. And then we just got the little hot on the offbeat. Not off, but upbeat. And then that little hit again. So at this point, I'm just kind of bouncing the vocals off of the drums and off of the main bass lead, right? Like the idea is everything's kind of like bouncing off of each other to give more of a groove. All right, cool. Let's look at the main sauce, which is the main bass lead. This is what the whole song hinges around, in my opinion. All right, so this initial call is made up of essentially two sounds, really just one sound with a tiny layer, and then there's a tiny little hit at the beginning. So this drop originally started as just this, if I remember correctly. It was like literally just this sample. That's how the drop started. Like when I was writing this, I was like, oh, this is really cool. It gave me the idea. But then I was like, you know, obviously it's too weak. It's not unique enough. I want to make it more my style. So then I made my own serum patch. But that was the inspiration, was that. And so it can help to like use other bass patches or other like even just like bass loops or whatever from other sample packs or other artists, just to give your like kind of get the creative juices flowing and give you an idea, and then you can build off of that. So that's how this song came about. And then I built this. So looks like most of the work is being done in Serum. Just to show you that, I will take all these out, and then with it, so really it's just a volume increase and a little bit more fat, but it's pretty much everything's being done in Serum. And it's a pretty simple patch. There's really not a whole lot going on. This is the main LFO driver for the entire patch. This thing is essentially just a sustain LFO. So it has this little pickup, this little uptick. So when it starts, it has a little, 16th note delay essentially. and then it kicks in and just holds out. And this is controlling the volume of A. A is being FN from B without the FM. We get some noise essentially. And then it's also controlling our noise oscillator, which is just giving us texture. And then a lot of the characteristics that come from the comb filter. So that's like the bass sound, and then so the movement of the cutoff on the comb is what gives us the like kind of more organic movement essentially, or more organic like pitch wobbles and stuff like that. And that's what makes it the patch come to life. But the main core sound is essentially just FMing a fifth octave or a couple octaves above of a square wave. That's essentially it. And that little like flutter you're hearing, I believe it's just because the patch is so low. Or it might be, oh, because I had the flutter on, so it's coming from this. Oh, where is it coming from? That is a good question. Maybe the bode. I think it's just coming from the FM. I could be wrong. I don't know, to be honest. But regardless, and then also automating or having this kind of modulate the phase placement of the square wave that is FMing A can create some cool little textures and tones as well. So kind of playing with that. It's just like really subtle stuff, but it creates a little bit of movement, extra movement. Hyper just to give it some space. This is essentially just kind of like a little bit of almost like phase distortion kind of, but it's a frequency shifter essentially. I could do the same thing with shifter built in Ableton, but they have it in Serum, so there you go. I had a convolver on here, but it didn't sound good. And then essentially just two OTTs. Yeah, it's a pretty simple sound. This is just reverb automation, just to kind of give it a little bit more push and pull. I think that is really helpful for your drops to kind of have some depth. Pushes it back in and then comes back forward. Beat repeat to do this little like weird this thing here, a little da-da-da. So I could cut this, I could bounce to audio and do that as well, but I was lazy and I just did beat repeat, flutter, just to give this little, just kind of adding more to that flutter sound. Just that first hit's a little bit different. But that's the main sound right there. And then I've got this guy. So this is super subtle, and it's basically like just giving it some low mid presence. So together, without it, and all together, without it. So having that like really fills out the spectrum and makes it feel like it's clean, and it doesn't take away from the main sound, but it also like gives it this subharmonic that really helps kind of contextualize the main sound, if that makes sense. And so I've been playing with this idea a lot lately, and just using like basically pure tones, like just literally just pure tones, mixing a fifth in a regular tone, and a little bit of phase distortion, but that is a really simple patch. You could probably just do the same thing. It would sound just about the same with just a regular sine wave, and it's just got the same pitch movement. Now the way I'm doing the pitch movement, this is another big part of the sound, is using, I thought it was using MPE, I guess I'm using envelopes. So I'm basically, this is mapped to the pitch bend of the synth. So if you've seen my other breakdown videos, you've seen I use pitch bend a lot. Lately, my most recent stuff, I've actually been using MPE more. MPE has been so nice. It's been, because I can like, with MPE, I can do the same thing, but I can see the semitones I'm bending to. Like, I can go crazy with it, and I can see exactly where everything's landing. And so I know if it's like in key, out of key, all that kind of stuff. With envelopes, you just get random values, so it's like you don't really know. You have to do it by ear. And the other thing with this is limited to your pitch bend amounts set here, right? MPE has nothing to do with the pitch bend wheel. So like your pitch bend wheel could be 0, 0, and the MPE would still be plus 12. You can go as far as you want, right? So yeah, I'm not doing it in this song, but MPE is great. I think I might do it actually in the saws, so we'll have a better look there. But that's the main sound. You got these little like suction things, and this is just bounces of these sounds and then reversed. And then a little turnaround sample. Super simple, it's just a silence patch or sample. So just bring it a little bit more forward and take out some of the highs. Their stuff tends to be have a lot of highs in it, so I kind of end up EQing a lot of their samples, but they still are cool samples. It's just sometimes they need a little bit of love. And then this is the B section, which is just a cymatic sample that I looped. That's it. And then I just like basically did some processing. So nothing on it. Kind of crazy, right? But then you just pitch shift it or frequency shift it. And then I've got a ring shifter, which is what's helping create that sound. And you might be wondering, how the hell did I figure out how to do this? I just shifted knobs a bunch. Like I literally played with shifter in frequency mode. I knew that kind of got me where I wanted. Then I was like, let me try out ring shifter, and I just played with it until it sounded cool. It's a lot of experimenting with the coarse knob and then experimenting with whether you want it to be dry wet and like have a little bit of the dry signal in there, which can create some phasing effects, which could be cool. But it's just a lot of playing around, and unfortunately it's pretty much all by ear. I don't know of any like shortcuts or hacks for it. So that's the only thing that sucks about frequency and ring shifting, is you kind of just have to use your ears, and it takes a lot of playing around. And then otherwise, the only other things going on in this is I've got a little bit of hyperdimension on it to give it some space. Kind of make it feel bigger. I got this mixed drums, which I thought helped quite a bit. Again, I was experimenting with this, so I threw it on pretty much everything just to try it. And I thought it sounded kind of cool. This was essentially just a preset. And then cut off a lot of the highs because I felt like I didn't need it. The call part of the drop is really noisy, and I wanted the response to be kind of not noisy and more FM sounding. So you can hear how it cleans up quite a bit. Also, that noise you're hearing is actually a ring shift sidechain. The way that you would do it before compactor came out. So this is before compactor. This is literally like a month or two before compactor came out, and this was the old way of doing ring shift sidechaining or ring mod sidechaining, and doing it this way kind of creates a little bit of like noise, but it kind of, I wanted that aggressive noise layered in, so I just worked with it. I thought it sounded cool, but that's why when I'm having these things soloed, that's what that little noise is. It hits, basically it's like the clap inverted into the signal. Alright, so B part of the drop, we just go up an octave on the main call. That little beat repeat is what's doing that there. We kept the low mid part the same. And then on the response, it goes up a little bit. And then here, again, I'm just automating. You can see the frequency shifter is just getting automated here and just getting pushed around. Again, all by ear, just a lot of tweaking. Super simple sounds, but a lot of like fine tuning on plugins to get them to sound right. Like this, which just kind of layers in with this little like, I thought it sounded cool as a layer in with the cash register sound that's also pitching down. All right, let's look at the sub. This is our sub. So we got a lot of weird stuff happening. So I'm doing a lot of automation in this sub. And the reason why is because I want the A section or the call and the response subs to feel a little different. And that's mostly because of the basses that they're supporting. So the call section, the sub is the basses are pretty low mid heavy, so I don't really need like a lot of harmonics in my sub. I just really need the fundamental, and maybe I'll have a third just to kind of have it and round it out a bit. But like on the response in this part, I don't have a lot of low mids. That sound is a pretty high frequency sound, so I need more low mids in my sub to help round that out and complete the spectrum. And so you can hear in the sub versus, I also love playing with different kind of harmonics in your sub in A or B section, like a call and response, because it feels like the sub is kind of having a conversation as well. Like it's, I don't know, I think it's a cool thing that not a lot of producers are really tapping into. A lot of people just kind of slap in a sine wave and call it a day, or they just, you know, go with whatever is on their serum patch. But I think it's pretty cool to have a little bit more attention to the sub like this. But yeah, let's look at what's going on. So it starts out with, essentially, we've got a fundamental. So this is my like sub rack. It's kind of confusing, but so 0 is the fundamental, so it's just playing the bottom note. This right here is my third harmonic, as you can see here. That's what's being played here, which is playing actually so this would be the fundamental, first order, or sorry, I think this is a third, so whatever, I just called it a third. This is a third harmonic, and then also fourth, fifth, sixth. So I'm playing those two together, and then this section is being controlled by this volume knob. So it's coming up here. So it's up there, and then you can see on the response, it turns down, and then instead I bring up this guy, which is now playing that type of harmonic setup. So you can see the difference here. Which gives me a different sub sound, right? And then looking at this, so you can see call, and then I got that extra harmonic that comes in. And then it's pretty much just bouncing back and forth between those two. And then the other thing that's happening is I wanted this call section to be more of a sustain bass, and I wanted the response section to feel more like an 808. So I had to bring the sustain down, and it has a decay tail to it. So that's what this is automating. This is mapped to here, and it's mapped to the sustain of the main bass. But what's cool, let me make sure. Yeah, what's cool is it's only like mapped to the sustain of the fundamental. So just the low note. The harmonics are actually sustained all the way throughout, which is kind of cool because it keeps presence of the bass in the mix, but it, like the low end body, kind of the weight of the sub falls away. So you feel it fall away, but you don't hear it fall away. So it's kind of a cool little trick I did. And to show you this here, so it's subtle, but you can see it kind of come down a little bit. And then this is not going to move. It's really kind of going to be about the same. And that's pretty much the sub. The only other thing that's happening is I've got these pitch bends, which are mirroring the pitch bends that are happening in the main bass. I just copied that over. So, and that's how we get the more expressive type sub. And these, it sounds really extra, but when you're in like a big system and you can feel a sub moving around on you like this, it's sick. Like, it actually creates a cool experience, which is why I love doing. Obviously you can get too crazy with it, but I think this is like just the right amount where it gives it a little bit of movement and creates a pretty fun experience for the people listening to this on big systems. Cool. We got this. This is just kind of like a little without it. So this was added in very late stage in the production where I'm like, all right, I kind of want to keep. Sometimes it's nice to drop the sub out, which I do, as you can see. Like, this is no sub in this part. I've got a little suction, but no sub right here. And then, but like right here, I thought it was kind of cool to add a little pluck on the clap hit because it just felt cool. Versus, so it just felt cool. Like, it kept the energy up a little bit higher for me. Little pitch down, quick. So the idea, I mean, really, it's just playing a lot with like pitch ups, pitch downs, and getting the sub moving all over the place so that it feels very active. And that's pretty much the drop. Let's look at the effects real quick. I've got these two little guys. Just some weird effects. I don't even know what that is. I think it's a Nick Mira preset or Nick Mira effect. Weird transition. And then that riser, just to kind of help build us out of the drop. I don't always do risers in the drop, but I like to here and there. So, and then in the B section here, I'm still muting it with this guy, so it's only playing in the A section. So it's like it builds and then it mutes. I didn't want it to clash there, and then builds again, and then mutes. So it's a pretty subtle riser, and that's pretty much it for the drop. So let's go ahead and look at the break section.
Next up, please show some love. You're coming too high. What's up? What's going on? Make some noise. I found it. Gotta slow it down. Have to make it stop.
Cool. Let's look at the drums real quick. So this is kind of like a verse break / build. Like, it's I really squeezed this in together, but I think it worked out pretty well. It kept the song nice and compact, but it also achieved all the elements I wanted to achieve. In the older versions, I had like an additional 8 or 16 bars of a build, and it felt kind of drawn out to me. This felt like it hit everything I wanted the song to hit, but then in a nice compact way. So got this little break here. And we just got the cymbals from the drop are just continuing here. I've been doing this a lot lately, keeping some of the drop drums continuing after the drop because it kind of keeps the energy high in a nice way.
I found it.
Alright, so this is where it gets pretty interesting. Originally, this was just like a verse style drum loop. So it had like a kick in here. It didn't have the claps. It just felt like a normal, like, kind of burst drum section. Where is it? Like, it felt like this. And then I had a kick in there as well. And that's kind of what it was. Like, it's really simple, right? But then I had the idea, like, let me combine the build with the verse drums, and so we got something like this where I started bringing in the claps from the build, and now we got And then we have the build snares that come in as well. So it all kind of works. And I think part of what helps sell it is I took out the kick and this, and I'm actually just using the 808 as the kick. And I think it makes it feel like not a full like produced verse, almost kind of like it's missing something. And then the build drums, when they kick in, they kind of complete it and then give it also a building sense. So there's kind of a bunch of weird things that I experimented with, but I think it worked out. But yeah, that's basically what's happening. Sub. We'll look at the sub in a second. Let's look at the vocals real quick. With the vocals.
You coming too hot. Next up, please show some love. You coming too hot.
What's up? What's going on? Make some noise!
I found it. Better slow it down.
All right, so now we get back into the original vocals. These are the original vocals, but I just chopped out some parts. Again, I wanted it to feel kind of like a break or a breakdown, so had a couple things interlooping.
Next up, please.
That's just the vocals that are bounced out, and then basically like a reverb tail, and then a high version of the vocals. So that's what that is, and those are kind of bouncing around. And then what I thought was pretty cool to bring in these like MC shouts. So I've also kind of scoured YouTube for like a bunch of DJ like MCs and just chopped them up and created a little mini sample pack for myself as well, which I probably will share eventually on my Patreon. But this is just one of those samples.
Next up, please show some love.
So that's all that's going on there. And then we got this one.
What's up? What's going on? Make some noise!
And then as that's happening,
Make some noise!
we've got my tag, which comes in. And the tag is a new thing for me. Had a couple versions made recently. This is one version.
I found it.
And I got a couple different ones in here.
If found, run the shit up. I love you, if found.
That one's kind of weird, but yeah, I got like 20 different versions. I'm gonna kind of see which ones stick the most for me, but you'll be hearing more of my tags, that's for sure.
What's up? What's going on? Make some noise!
I found it.
And then it just kind of comes in. And that's pretty much the vocals. Alright, so that does it for Too Hot, for my breakdown for Too Hot. If you are watching this on YouTube, then you're most likely seeing a shorter version of this video. If you want to check out the full breakdown and also get access to the project file itself with everything you see here, the synths, the patches, all that kind of stuff, make sure to check out my Patreon. It'll be there for artist tier members for you to download and do whatever you please with it, right? If you are one of my Patreon members, thank you again so much for continuing to support me. It helps, as you know. I said that a million times, but it really does. And I am now making more content for you guys, specifically those videos on mixing, mastering, vocal mixing, and so on and so forth. And I probably will do like kind of a Serum 2 video too as well. That'll do it for me. And if you guys have any questions, things you want to see coming up, especially like future breakdowns, let me know in the comments below. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.